All right, Mr. Andrew, you are live on the air. Go right ahead with your question, sir.
Hello, William, and hello, Rabbi Singer. I would like to ask you one question I've been having for a while. You know how Christianity started out as a Jewish movement, like Jesus and the apostles and the early disciples were pretty much all Jewish. So my question is, what happened to this early Jewish Christian movement? Like, how did they react to Gentiles taking over? So what happened to this community? Did they accept it, or did they go their separate ways? Did they disappear? Did they get absorbed into another religion? So what's your take on this, Rabbi?
That's a great question.
It's a great
Very good.
question.
Okay, go ahead and hand them down to you for your answer. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
It's a really great question, and we're not certain, although there's some information that might point us in a direction. So, as it turns out, the writings of the earliest Christians who were Jewish do not survive. And whatever we know about the let's say the Ebionites or Nazarenes, we know about them from their enemies, the Orthodox or the proto-Orthodox Christians. Of course, the Christian Bible tells us a great deal, but of course, again, we're hearing it from the opposition. It would seem that by the time we are in the 50s, that the Christian movement was largely not Jewish. I say it would seem because we really can't be sure. However, given that Paul's letters were written in the 50s, everything that Paul wrote, maybe First Thessalonians could be dated to 49, but from First Thessalonians to Romans, the last, almost certainly the last of his epistles, it's all the 50s. And what's going on is it's non-Jews that are becoming Christian. Now, just people I know will bring this up, so I might. Christians didn't use the term Christian about themselves in the Christian Bible. The word Christian does appear in the New Testament 3 times, and on all occasions, it's being used by non-Christians. Christians adopt this name at some stage, and that's very often the case. Calvinism was not invented by Calvin. He didn't like the term. A Lutheran coined it. Sabellianism, all the Methodists, Shakers, all these names were made up by other people, and then they adopted it. But I'm using these terms so we're clear. So it would seem from Paul's letters that it's non-Jews that are joining this, and this is nothing that's growing in great numbers among Jews, but they clearly were, because Paul, in the book of Romans, his most influential epistle, addresses Jews, and he's speaking to Jews that he had never met, because unlike Galatians or Corinthians or other letters, he's writing to communities that he has already visited and where he built churches. When he wrote his epistle to the Romans, he had not yet visited Rome. So he's speaking to an unknown audience, but Paul was aware that there were Jews who would become Christians in Rome, and he addresses them as his brethren in Romans chapter 7, for an example. That's why I believe that there's something very striking in Paul's letters, this is just an aside, that Paul is most charitable towards Jews in the book of Romans. It's not that but he says the nicest things about Jews in the book of Romans, where he knew that Jews are the recipients. The names of these letters are written in the style of the day the title of your letter was who the recipient was. So when he's writing to people who are going to read who are Jews, so he's nicer. He speaks of the Jews more nicely than he does in other epistles, where he's not as charitable. In fact, in First Thessalonians, he accuses the Jews of killing Jesus, and because he's writing to a community where he was not going to find Jews, and that's how Paul was. It's not just that he was mercurial; he was chameleon. So, in the way he characterizes Jews in Romans is quite strikingly different than in First Thessalonians. Now, if we look at the book of Acts, that's written by whoever wrote Luke, whoever wrote the third gospel wrote the book of Acts. We don't know who wrote it. And the dating, so the most conservative dating, unless you go to the King James only, there are very ultra conservative, but they're not germane. The conservative view on Acts authorship is as early as like 85. There are plenty of people out there, scholars, who believe that Acts is second century, but I'm not going to do that. I'll keep it in the 80s. Almost any Bible you opened before the book of Acts will tell you in the introduction the authorship is probably mid-80s or 90. So as far as the book of what we're told in the book of Acts, but what we're told is in the book of Acts, not about what was happening in 85, but what was going on in the 50s, essentially 40s or 50s, where non-Jews wanted to become Christians. And the question is, did they have to convert to Judaism first in order to be a Christian? And this is addressed, and it's resolved that they have to essentially keep the Noahide laws. So it's very clear that there are Jews who are drifting into this movement, but probably much less so. If we are to use it's very hard to do this, but if we're able to use these texts, it means we have to use the New Testament. We have no non-Christian writings about Christianity until the second century. So we have Pliny the Younger and Tacitus. So it's very, very difficult task. The consensus seems to be that the complete divorce between Jews and Christians occurs in the revolt of Bar Kokhba, which began against the Roman Empire in 132, and tragically ends in 135. So it caught the Romans completely by surprise. But here, not even 70 years after the destruction of the Second Temple, there's a very powerful, initially successful revolt against the empire to retake Jerusalem, but it ultimately ends in failure. So at that point, Jews who were Christians, so they couldn't possibly side with the Jews because the Bar Kokhba revolt was, people who supported it thought that Bar Kokhba, which is sort of the name they gave him, was a messianic revolt, and they believe, well, can't be the Messiah, so we're definitely not on board. So that's where the separation moves. We see in the patristic writings that there were Jews who were joining these groups, and I mean, look at, I don't know where you live, but in the United States, country is fairly polarized, red and blue. And you have Jews, very prominent Jews on both sides of the political aisle, and you have Jews on both sides of every issue, and very prominent, may I say. And it always was the case. And when communism began, the revolution in Russia, Jews were very prominent. And when it came to people who hated the communist movement, you had Jews who were on that side. You have Jewish people let's just say something, Jews are, one could say, tend to be good at what they do, but there could be on all sides, and they will use, if it's true that Jews often excel at whatever they put their head to, so they made terrific Bolsheviks when they wanted to, and they made people who had a very, Milton Friedman, So it just, there's no doubt that there were Jews who joined Christianity or Jews who joined the communist revolution. Of course there were. But the problem is that their writings don't survive. And therefore, what we know about them is from their enemies, which limits my ability to tell you precisely what occurred with confidence. Anyways, thank you so much for your thoughtful question.
All right, let me get this next caller lined up.
Guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, go to Rabbi Singer's channel as well, and also don't forget his 2-volume book set, Let's Get Biblicals, Volume 1 and 2. The audio files are available, but the CDs are not, but they're available on his website.
The MP3. Let me say,
Yeah.
I want to just one other thing
Go
for
ahead.
you guys. Listen carefully.
Go ahead.
Pay no attention to that man. No, listen to me. It's so important. If you believe in the work that William is doing, that we're doing here, whenever you watch any of our videos, please like it and please share it. It's very important because it really affects the algorithm so that our videos are spread around. So really it's very, very important that whenever you see a video of William, a video of mine, it's very important to like it. I hope we like it.
Yeah.
But if you do, don't just pass it. Just make sure you like it and make sure that you subscribe to channels because it really has a very big impact on spreading Torah throughout the world. It's very, very important. You should really go through our videos and make sure that those videos that you haven't liked yet, you do like them. It really has a very, very big impact on spreading this message. Anyway, shalom.
Yeah. And commenting on them also helps generate views as well, so it kind of refreshes them on the system. So,
Yeah.
Rabbi, thank you. Great show, and we'll see you, Hashem willing, same time, same place next week. Shalom, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
If you enjoy this channel and the content, and it has changed your life, or perhaps the life of a loved one or a close friend, would you please consider supporting this work? You can click this link and it'll take you directly to my website with the donate button. Or there's a Patreon link and a mailing address for snail mail if you would prefer. If you do donate, please do me a favor and leave me a phone number where I can contact you and thank you properly. I hope you all have a wonderful 2025. Shalom.